Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. Don't forget to follow our YouTube channel at Hacking Your Leadership and leave us a review on iTunes. On this Thoughtful Thursday, I want to talk about something that has been kind of a trend over the last, maybe 6 or 8 months. And that's the number of articles around the term quiet quitting. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because I saw an article a few days ago that actually started using the term for the first time, quiet firing, which is essentially kind of passive aggressively treating your employees so that they just end up quitting on their own. Basically, it's essentially, I don't know how to have conversations with my people about the things they're actually doing incorrectly. I don't know how to give them feedback or develop them. So instead, I'm going to give them the cold shoulder. I remember talking on this podcast years ago about when I was a new leader and having a person report up to me who didn't really break any of the rules, but they were just really not a nice person to be around. They had a bad attitude. They were, nihilistic. They always thought negatively of of their own company, the company we worked for, and they were looking for the negative in everything, but they did their job. And how I didn't know how to lead that person. And so I would come to work just hoping that the rules would lead to them being fired because I didn't know how to have a conversation with a person like that. And that was, I guess, kind of the first experience I had with a person who was in essence quiet quitting. But it's a term that really the act has been around forever. It's just doing the bare minimum.
Some of it's so silly to me to a degree, because I think just initially, to your point, so many of these things have existed for so long, and it seems like they're just getting refreshed titles. And then somebody comes up with this idea of quiet quitting. And then you scratch your head well, wait a minute. Let me read this. Okay. So basically what you're telling me is that people are just showing up and just doing the minimum of their job. Okay. So again, what's wrong with that? Right. To your point, if you're not bringing, if you're not negatively impacting those around you too much, and I guess those are things that you have to really kind of that are really important nowadays around is somebody toxic to the environment or toxic to their peers. You have to have that conversation, but there's nothing wrong with just being good at and just doing the job that you're being asked to do. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I think that's why the quiet quitting thing was kind of silly to me, because I'm do we really live in this world where this, and again, is the expectation that you not only do your job, but you have to be doing all this extra work? No, that it'd be nice. It'd be good. But at the same time, even as a leader, you can't afford that. I can't afford to have every single person hey, I'm really hyped. I'm doing all of this work. I want more extra work. Because you're just you need a balance. You need people that are just enjoying and good at their job and just at that point in life right now where they're just getting the thing done. And I think as a leader, you owe it to them to have the space for them to get more if they would like to have more and they're good at what they're doing. But so much of this is just silly to me, because I'm we're just repackaging some of these things that have been around forever. And I read the quiet quitting article and I kind of felt a certain way about the person who wrote it. Is this your way of saying that people, because they're not doing what you're asking them to do more of, that now all of a sudden they're not serious about doing a good job? Because I don't see that way either. So it's just it's silly to me that this is kind of what's being shuffled out there. And then now we have we're talking about quiet quitting. Now we're going to talk about quiet firing. Stop it. This is not new.
No, I agree with that. I don't want to speak definitively on this. I'd have to go back and check my direct deposit statements, but I don't think I've ever gotten paid more than the bare minimum, meaning what I was hired on, the salary I was hired on for, more than that by any company ever. And so it's what does it mean to go above and beyond on your job? Well, your company doesn't go above and beyond on your pay, right? And so to me, quiet quitting is the same thing as, I guess, just doing your job. Because if the bare minimum is not doing your job, then that's just not doing your job. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're not doing it, then people need to be held accountable for not doing their job. But if they are doing the job, if they're getting it done, even if they don't enjoy it, you don't have to enjoy your job. I would love everybody to enjoy their job, But depending on what you're doing and depending on your skill set and depending on where you are in life and the decisions you're making, it's very possible that you don't enjoy your job. I don't believe that's an excuse for, not doing it to begin with, or, find a different one if you want to. But if you're getting it done, like the fact that you're not doing more than that is okay as long as you're actually doing what you were hired for. I saw this thing online that somebody tweeted. It says quiet quitting is a funny term. It implies that your company is reliant on you doing things you weren't paid to do, which means they have to come up with a negative connotation for not doing those things. It's like, well, if that's the case, if your company relies on you to do things that you're not being paid to do in order to be around, then you if you can't pay that person in dollars, then you better be paying them in something else too. And I'll tell you something, I've done that. I've gone above and beyond for a job that couldn't pay me more in dollars, but the development that I got and the leadership that I got and the commitment to growth and the experience I was getting, that there was value in that to me, where I was able to make the decision, you know what, this is worth it. I left that job feeling good about the fact that I was doing more than I was paid to do on a, kind of tangible respect, because I was getting paid other things intangibly. But not all jobs have that. If you are being paid what you were being told you were being paid on time, and you're doing what you were hired to do, and you're not getting more than that from your boss, from your company, from your leaders, you're not getting any development, you're not getting anything more than just that paycheck, why would a person do more than that? Like, to me, that seems like exactly the relationship you hired the person to do, right? And so what I want to ask you, Lorenzo, is have you ever had a conversation with a leader reporting to you about this because they maybe were expecting too much out of their people instead of just paying them to do their job? So I want to ask that, but first I want to give it up to word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo, tell me about a time when one of the leaders reporting up to you was maybe approaching their people in the wrong way when it comes to just getting their job done.
From a leadership standpoint, a lot of times you want to measure your success in watching your people grow. And typically we say grow, and that what we really mean is like get promoted is kind of what it ends up being. You have this belief that as a leader, you have to have this level of connection with people. And we've talked about it before, like even in like the Developers Dark Side series that we had, where we spend this time trying to solve for a person or help them work through everything. And so I think what ends up happening in those situations with leaders is that like we project what either got us to where we are today, or we project this idea that this is where people should be, or this is how they should feel about the work, instead of taking the time to really connect and understand and to accept that. Like I felt like a broken record over the last handful of months, almost a year now, talking about this idea of, it's okay if people just want to do the job. Like they just want to achieve the expectation. They just want to get the work done well. That is totally okay. We spend so much time talking about the extra and the next thing and the levels of, because we have this belief that people want to continue to grow. And a lot of people absolutely do. But if we don't stop and pause and say that's okay, like, and not only that, but like communicate that to the person. Instead of approaching somebody in a developmental conversation or dialogue, and this is where, to answer your questions, I talk to leaders about, instead of it being about you and the path that you'd like to see them on, you should explain to them what the paths are and then let them know that you're going to support them regardless. And so if I talk to you, Chris, and I say like, if this is where you're at, here's your current performance, you're doing a really good job here. Are you looking for more? And you say to me like, no, like I'm good. Like this is what I want to do. And I say, great. I said, let me just be clear then. Like, as long as you continue to perform at this level, as long as you get the job done, that's perfectly fine. Like I will support that. If this is the time in life where you need to just have this level of responsibility, and this is what we've agreed to your point, this is the job, this is what we've agreed to, this is what you're going to get paid for it, I am totally good. But I do want you to know, Chris, one of the things about me as a leader, I really want to make sure that I'm providing you any opportunities that you want. So if there's a time, if there's a space, if you're looking for more responsibility, if you're looking to become a mentor to your peers, if you're looking to engage in other experiences or projects, I want that for you too, but I'm not going to force that, because I also understand that you are in the driver's seat of your career and of the responsibilities that you have and things that you want to get done. So I never want you to believe that if I stop asking, then it's because I don't want this for you. It's just that I'm also respecting the fact that you're telling me this is the spot that you want to be in, and I want to support that. So, like, do we have that agreement? Like, I don't think we do enough of that with our people to let them know where we stand and what we would like for them, but also respecting the fact that this is where they are. And I've seen that be successful many times. Sometimes it's a couple days, sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a month later. Somebody says, I've been thinking about what we talked about, and you're right. I should probably, I think I could add more. And then you say, then let's talk about it. But it has to be on their terms. And I think that's where a lot of leaders get stuck, is that they want it to be on their own leadership terms. And then when somebody's not on those terms, they kind of shuffle them away, or they go focus on people that want to do it the way they want them to do it.
Right. And I think that the other part of that too is that, in most organizations, the leader that we're talking about here is not a person who has a lot of control or even any control over what the person is paid. The organization has some structure around that. It's determined at a lot higher pay grade than the individual leader themselves. And so the leader understands that, and they try to make up for that. They try to get more out of their people by actually giving them more development. They do their best to kind of meet that person where they are and to try to develop them, try to give them more opportunity. They try to set that person up for success, and their heart is in the right place. But if that person doesn't want those things, or maybe not doesn't want them, but doesn't care about them, like it's not an incentive for them. All the incentive for them is they want to almost be on autopilot for their job. They know how to do their job. They can get it done. They want to be able to turn that switch off when they leave work and go focus on something else. Maybe the job that they're doing for you is a stepping stone to something bigger. Maybe they just want to not have it stress them out. Maybe their previous job that they worked at was so stressful because it was always trying to go for the next big thing. And now they're just happy where they are, and they don't want that stress in their life, and they just want to get paid and move on. That needs to be okay with you as a leader, if that's what that person wants. But again, you're right. Have the conversation and make sure it's the communication is everything laid out on the table, so that one of you doesn't have a different expectation than the other. And I think that can lead to a really good relationship between two people who decide that that's the way forward for each of them.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.